Love for your radio. What it do? Got the vibe for your ear coming through. Bay Life Radio, bringing the heat right to you. Tune in to the blaze, best connection to you. And good music is live, we're keeping it true. Twitch.tv/Bay Life Radio and digital dash. Turn it up, feel the love, it's a Bay blast from the president past. Love for your radio. What it do? Got the vibe for your ear coming through. Bay Life Radio, Bay Life Radio, bring the heat right to you. Tune in to the base, best connection to you. The good music is live, we're keeping it true. Twitch.tv/Bay Life Radio and digital dash. Turn it up, feel the love, it's a Bay blast from the president past. Tune in the president past. Love on your radio. What it do? Got that vibe for your ear coming through. Bay Life Radio, Bay Life Radio, bring the heat right to you. Tune in to the base, best connection to you. The good music is live, we're keeping it true. Twitch.tv/Bay Life Radio and digital dash. Turn it up, feel the love, it's a Bay blast from the president past. From the president past. From the president past. From the president past. Tune into the base, best connection to you. Good music is live, we're keeping it true. Twitch.tv/Bay Life Radio and digital dash. Turn it up, feel the love, it's a Bay blast from the president past.
I'm Daryl Allums. I'm Executive Director of Animika Village Stop Killing Our Kids movement. I'm also the founder of the Oakland Frontline Healers. Oakland Frontline Healers are an Oakland, California service in the African American community that's impacted by the COVID-19 crisis right now. We are on the front line every day, passing out masks, hand sanitizer, giving them groceries, taking our loved ones, getting tested, out here serving our community while the pandemic is going on. Oakland Frontline Healers is also supporting our loved ones have dealt with community gun violence, police violence, domestic violence, and any violence that's tapped onto that. We're here to support our community however we possibly can.
Doing out there? Welcome to another episode of Word on the Curb. Thank you for tuning in, folks. Need to be here. Hey, Barbara Lee's our new mayor. You already know how I'm feeling about that. It's a win for the Flatlands. She really, I think she's the first mayor in a long time who really actually cares about the Flatlands. And I'm just happy that the person who was the top contender with her, Lauren Taylor, didn't get in. You know, no disrespect to him, but he was not what was going to be good for us. He's a very corporate-minded person. Perhaps he can find his place and work with her if he's so committed and serious to Oakland, and maybe be on her staff if she'll take him. But I'm just very excited that she is the mayor. But this is not an opportunity for all of us who care about Oakland and want to see changes to just sit back and do nothing. This is actually the time for us to roll up our sleeves and start talking to her. She's not going to be able to do it alone. She has inherited a big mess. And for people out there who are impacted by what's been happening in Oakland for the past 25 years, because I can put a date to it, the past 25 years, you need to be in her ear and telling her what you want, because she actually will listen to you. And I'm very excited about that. Let's start it off with, last week was the 10th annual 415 Day. And, 510 Day is coming up in a couple of weeks. There would be no 510 Day if there was no 415 Day. And we have fought really hard over here in Oakland to make sure that the original spirit behind 510 Day has not gotten lost. And a lot of it has been watching what's happening over at 415 Day. 415 Day started off as a protest, period, against gentrification at Dolores Park. Later on, it moved over to that park over, I think it's called McAllister Park. I'm not sure. I'm not very familiar with Frisco, but over by where Candlestick Park used to be. There's another park, and it moved over there, and then it moved over to La Raza Park, and then moved over to Cesar Chavez Park every year. But it has always been a political gathering, just like 510 Day. And over the years, the city of San Francisco has, really tried to co-opt it. One year several years back, the city branded 415 Day as the day for tourism in Frisco, which is just like insulting. The very next year, Oakland Department of Tourism. Did y'all know that we had a Department of Tourism in Oakland? Like, why and when? And the Department of Tourism tried to brand 510 Day as the day for tourists to come to Oakland, and we put a stop to that real quick. So they had to say now like 507 or 515 is Tourism Day in Oakland. And then a lot of folks have been celebrating over in Frisco the culture of Frisco, but completely missing the point that this is a day of protest. And it's beautiful to turn up, and we can turn up all day and every day, but on that one day in Frisco, folks were saying, no, we're going to take a stand and use our culture as a point of resistance and resilience, because what was happening here was happening over there. People were getting pushed out. People were getting criminalized and profiled just for existing, but in like a super, even more than ever than normal. And the thing is that if we don't take a militant stance on days like 415 Day and 510 Day, we're actually falling for the trap. You got to remember that these folks, these newcomers, a lot of them want our culture. They want our swag. They want our style, but they don't want us. And so to take that stand is the rally call of 415 Day and 510 Day is we still here. And so when we take that stand to say that us existing, us coming and celebrating our culture, celebrating our history is an act of resistance, because you guys are trying to erase us. And you can't erase us and then also just keep celebrating our culture. So DJ Igor, let's watch that clip from the very first annual 415 Day. It has very humble beginnings, just like 510 Day. And just to pay tribute to it as we exited 415 Day last week, and we're coming up to 510 Day.
En los años 1600, cuando el tirano mandó las calles de Cartagena, aquella historia vivió. Cuando aquí llegaban esos negreros africanos en cadenas, besaban mi tierra, esclavitud perpetua. Que lo diga Salomé, Bucatele,
So this year we over here at Excelsior, as y'all know. a young brother over here was killed just a couple days by the police. You know, so we got to keep the hope alive. You know, keep the people here who are from here, born and raised, born and bred, loyal to the soil. We got to make sure that we stick together in unity for the community.
And we also got to remember to preserve our cities, right? Like Larry said, we're here in Excelsior. I don't know if y'all know, but Excelsior is the last community that has not been gentrified. So we want to make sure that we preserve this area. We shout out to the folks that's holding on over here in Excelsior. We uplift Brett's name that was killed over there in the barbershop. And we want to let y'all know that 415 Day is going to happen every year. Like Larry said, this is our third year. We out here trying to keep SF ladies here in the city.
You know what I'm saying? We really trying to keep it going till it's a city holiday, you know what I mean? But for the people though, for the people. And I want y'all to remember the 3 R's: restitution,
Resilience, and resistance. We want y'all to remember that we are still here. We fighting. I represent the last 3% of Black San Francisco, right? It's a crime, right? We got the monster in the mission, people trying to demolish the mission and replace all natives. But we want to let y'all know that we still fighting. And this is why 415 Day exists. It exists for us as the people to come around and let the city know that we are still here and you cannot replace us. Everybody say, hey! And we want restitution. We coming for all of ours, right? This is our city. Y'all owe us. You owe us housing. You owe us money for the displacement of our people. And we won't let... And we out here letting y'all know that we still here and y'all owe us what you owe us, right?
follow 415 Day on Instagram. Follow 415 Day on Instagram so next year we can even have it more cracking. We're going to send a secret location just like this time. And remember the 3 points: restitution, resistance, and resilience. I'm gonna count to 3. Scream out what high school you went to. 1, 2, 3. That's what I'm talking about. Count to 3, name the best taqueria in Frisco. 1, 2, 3. La Guadalajara. I'm Latino, but I can't roll my R's. But I know the 3 R's: restitution, resistance, and resilience.
Safeway just down on Mission and Russia Avenue is going to be a new expensive-ass luxury housing development that no one in this neighborhood can afford. And what they're doing with it is using an affordable housing project that we fought for and repackaging it and combining it as though it's like a blessing in our community. But we say hell no to that.
Yes, exactly. And then they play with that trick of the term.
Frisco Love, baby!
Like, for who? Like,
keep it culture, keep it Frisco, keep it 415 Day, the real legit 415 Day, authentic.
Jay's still here. And Equipto from Solidarity Records, he's a well-known rapper in Frisco's rap scene. He's one of the founders of 415 Day, and he's going to be coming to 510 Day this year and speaking in solidarity with us and giving us a little bit of the history of 415 Day. And one thing we've always talked about for the past 10 years is we need to do a 41510 Day. And so this is the 10th year for both of us, and so we really going to try to do something this year with both cities coming together in unity, and it's a beautiful thing. And I'm looking forward to 510 Day this year. It's the first time it's going to be on a Saturday. We had several thousand people out last year, and it was on a Friday. So we're expecting even more this year, and it's we got the most stages this year. We got 6 stages. We got 10 different zones. Follow us on 510 Day to get with the updates and most recent information of what's happening that day and how you can get involved. And the important part is that we come out there, we celebrate, we have a good time, but we are really getting as many social justice organizations as possible and programs for folks with resources and information out there so that you come out there, you enjoy, but then you don't forget why you're out there. You plug into organizations. We're going to have the Black Panther Legacy group out there. We're going to have Courage, which is a group for youth who are system impacted. We're going to have Urban Peace Movement. We're going to have the Young Women's Freedom Center. We're going to have Oakland Rising out there, The Village, which is my organization, Wood Street Commons, the Oakland Housing, the Oakland Tenants Union, the Oakland Homeless Union, so many organizations, whatever passion you feel for what you want to change in your community, there's going to be an organization out there that you can plug into if you're not already plugged in. That's part of what I was talking about earlier, rolling up our sleeves now that we got a cool-ass mayor for the next 15 or 18 months. Plug into these organizations that are doing the work already and be a voice to make some real positive change. We got 18 months to really utilize this opportunity we have in Oakland with a mayor who actually gives a fuck about us. So get involved, get active, and 510 Day is going to be a perfect time for y'all to do that. Another time that's going to be very perfect for you to do that is this Sunday, April 27th. Can we see that flyer, DJ Igor? There is the Poor People Campaign. So for folks who may not know, Poor People Campaign was actually started by Dr. Martin Luther King. It was the campaign that he was organizing. That's where that famous Washington I Have a Dream speech was out of. And that's when he became a real threat to the U.S. government because he started talking about the civil rights of poor people, not just the civil rights of black people, but the civil rights of everybody and anybody who was poor in this country. And they murdered him. They're like, oh, you're doing too much now. And so a lot of clergy, I'd say about 8 years ago, a lot of clergy across the country decided that it's been far too long for them just sitting on this campaign that he started. So they have revived his campaign. They've kept the same name, the Poor People Campaign, and they're making strides and pushing the agenda that he and other civil rights leaders and human rights advocates had created, at the time, in the 60s. And so this organization is having a gathering on April 27th over at 4799 Shattuck Avenue from 4 to 6. It'll be an opportunity for folks to meet organizations here in Oakland that are doing work around resisting racism, the war on the poor, anti-immigrant bashing, trying to take away rights of women, people being anti-Jewish, anti-gay, anti-Islamic. And the idea is it's being put on not just by the Poor People's Campaign, but a group called Beyond Christian Dominance Network. And those folks are the folks who are trying to remind us that term Christianity has been used throughout history to cause a lot of harm and oppression. And they're not real Christians. They're just using that term. And it's done everything from causing wars against Islam to the attempted genocide of Native Americans here, to enslaving and kidnapping Africans, to oppressing women. And right now we live in a time where this false narrative of Christianity is on the rise again in the radical right and in MAGA. So this is an opportunity if you feel like you want to get involved with an organization that's fighting for any of those issues and pushing back against what MAGA and what the right-wing Christians are doing, this Sunday will be a time. And just so you can get a taste of what they're talking about, we have a video of one of the co-founders of the Poor People's Campaign here, Reverend Butler, and he's just talking about just the reality of what people who are poor are having to deal with in this country, and it just ain't right.
People shouldn't have to work 3 jobs. That's the point. People shouldn't work without health care. That's the point. People shouldn't have to pray to wait for food to come on their table. That's the point. If you're working, you should be making a living wage. You should have health care and the richest nation in the world. Every one of you that come into this chamber, one of the first things you get is free health care because we pay for it. We pay for it. You make sure that, for instance, you have the ability to all your pre-clearance. This lady didn't have that chance.
No.
She didn't have that chance. And so what we've put together for you is an agenda of what can happen if we invest in living wages and how many dollars that can put into the economy for everybody. What can happen if we cut the military budget by 350, and it'll still be higher than Russia, Iran, North Korea, all of them combined. We have a complete plan. We're not here talking about Democrat or Republican. We're not trying to racialize, but that's why we disaggregated the number. We're tired of the racialization of poverty, the partisanism of poverty. What we are saying is you cannot have a society where 43% of your people are poor and low wealth. I don't care if they're from Eastern Kentucky, where we have been, that's predominantly white, or Eastern North Carolina, that's predominantly black. It is wrong, and we have a plan, and we must work together to change this.
All right, again, that was Reverend Butler, one of the co-founders of Reviving the Dr. Martin Luther King's Poor People Campaign. And again, you can connect with the local organizing happening here in California this weekend, Sunday, April 27th from 4 to 6 at 4799 Shattuck Avenue in North Oakland. And speaking of poor people, let's segue into a song by a group I really like, Nappy Roots. And the name of the song is Po Folk. The video's not coming in again.
Welcome to Kentucky.
There we go.
We
All
deal
right.
with friendship. We love to get along. Kentucky loves each other. I love you, Kentucky.
Was ashamed to be nappy head and all, ain't no change in me. So rough it was, downright wrong, I tell you, nobody never gave us nothing. The tough time, it made us something different, stretch the road, knew something to see. Every state on the map, a different something to eat. Daps and handshakes.
So, you know, starting in August, the former mayor Shang Tao, she made she called it an executive order where she declared that she was going to get rid of all the encampments in Oakland by December 2024. And she really did try, and the city really did try. And what started happening was just massive sweeps. And actually, let's go watch this video to see how that's looking. This was a video about what's happening. So today and yesterday, Mosswood Park was getting evicted. And those folks have been there for a long time. And they are supposed to all be getting into a hotel that the city spent $7.2 million in. The same $7.2 million that I've been talking about with East 12th that I've been trying to negotiate with the city to make sure all those folks, all 189 people who live there, get into this hotel. And already the city's backpedaling. And the folks at Mosswood, they were not offered, only a handful of them got offered a place to go at the extended stay. The city just bought the extended stay hotel. They're supposed to put 3 different encampments: Mosswood, the MLK corridor from West Grand to 26, but they evicted all those people in August, and they didn't track where those people went. But the city's claiming in all their press release that we're going to put the people from MLK there, but you don't even know where they are. Like, you displaced them, you threw all their belongings away in like such a brutal way and shut down that encampment, put up fences, and you didn't bother to find out where all those people went. And then when you found out where they went, you evicted them again and again and again. That all those residents who used to live on MLK, since August, they've been evicted 5 or 6 times from the different places they keep on scattering to. And now with MLK, with Mosswood, like I said, only a handful of people are getting put into that extended stay hotel, and primarily because the city nor the county have the capacity to deal with a lot of the folks at Mosswood have some serious mental health conditions, and there are no services or support to properly offer them so that they can be transitioned into some kind of transitional living. But yeah, let's check out this video about what happened over at Lake Merritt last week. The flyer seen across Oakland pushed for removal of homeless encampments. So it's the one that was on page 2, top of page 2, right under Nappy Roots. And yeah, again, the folks there have been there for a long time, and they were scattered all across different little pockets of Lake Merritt and under the bridge, and off in little corners and whatnot. And again, a lot of the folks there did not get placed into shelter, though the city claimed that they did. And I don't know, it's the biggest lie that they be telling people, that they're really utilizing this money that they've gotten to address homelessness, but they're doing it in such a harmful way, and it's a waste of money because they're not solving the problem. They're not ending homelessness. They're driving people deeper into homelessness, and they're driving people deeper into mental health crisis. It's really traumatizing. Could you imagine, you're already out on the streets, you're surviving, you've built a little community for yourself, where you're taking care of each other, and the city comes and throws away everything that you own, and just leaves you there on the side of the road. And then it takes a couple of months. Some people never recover from stuff like that, but a majority of people, it takes a few months to get back up on their feet and reestablish themselves, and then it happens again. And the city, I've said it before, the city, we audited the city, and they spend $1,500 per hour on these evictions. And there was a report that just came out last month. They now spend $1,800 per hour on those evictions, and it doesn't make no sense. It's slow. So the video is coming. Y'all can call in if you got something to say. 510-563-7819. Let us know what you're thinking about what's happening with these evictions or any of the stuff we've been talking about. It's really ruthless when you think about it, of how they're treating people. And I want folks to understand that it's a choice of how you spend these public dollars, of how you approach homelessness. And we're going to look into some other cities in Chicago and then also in Finland, of how they choose to use their public dollars to actually end homelessness and make sure people get their basic rights met. The city does not have to do what it's doing. It is choosing to do what it's doing. And I firmly believe that it's doing that because they have no intention of housing folks who are unhoused. They've already got them out of those apartments that they were in. They got them out of the housing they were in so that newcomers who will pay 3 times more will pay. So why I really just from the practices I'm seeing with the city and the lack of dedication to make sure that we have deeply affordable housing stock, I don't think the city ever wants to permanently house its unhoused population. I think it really wants the population to disappear and die off. All right, and here we go.
The city of Oakland ordering around 20 people living in encampments near Lake Merritt to move. In a few days, the city is planning to begin its revegetation project in Peralta Park. KRON 4's Lindsay Ford joining us in studio with the details. Lindsay?
Yeah, the city of Oakland has posted bright pink notices of vacant signs around Lake Merritt and Peralta Park. It reads that starting next Monday, crews will be removing encampments, vehicles, and other personal belongings. Dozens of tents line the Lake Merritt Boulevard overpass and Peralta Park in Oakland. But by next week, they will be gone. The city posted these bright pink vacant signs on fences and telephone poles. One of the lines on the sign reads, "The city has deemed the site inhabitable," something that doesn't quite make sense to Lake Merritt resident Kudakwashe Mashaika.
I think it's an interesting conversation to say inhabitable if people are habitating there and are okay living there. It's a whole community there, so I don't see why they should move those people, because where else would they put them?
From April 7th to April 11th, Oakland will be starting its revegetation project, replanting trees and other plants in the area. The city says the project will improve habitat for wildlife and provide enhanced opportunities for recreation activities. But Philometu Diane, another Lake Merritt resident, says the city needs to focus on the unhoused issue instead.
I feel like this area has been slowly just been increasingly more gentrified, and a lot of the people that are often in these encampments were previous residents that helped build up this community in downtown Oakland near Lake Merritt.
Shari Wooldridge, the interim director of the East Oakland Community Project, says the reason why there is an unhoused issue in the first place is because of a lack of affordable housing.
All it takes is one accident, one major bill, and that paycheck is gone, and you no longer have the ability to catch up on the rent that you're behind.
The East Oakland Community Project provides shelter for men and women, transitional housing, and is a family emergency center. It also houses 120 beds, but it's all through coordinated entry, meaning the person in need must call 211 to properly be assessed where they can go get help.
And that's my biggest concern about what happens when you start moving folks out of these temporary dwellings, because they're not necessarily homes, they're dwellings. You know, where do people go? They just move from one side of the city to the other because there are no beds, there's no shelters, there's no affordable housing to be able to rent, even if they did have funds.
Diane says if the city is going to start this project, they should provide housing for the folks camped at Peralta Park.
Unhoused people are people just like us, and they should be valued by the community just as much as housed people at the end of the day.
And the city of Oakland estimates there are between 15 to 20 people living in encampments in the area and asks the public to call 311 to report any encampments. Lindsay Ford, back to you.
All right, Lindsay, thank you. Still ahead on.
Could we see that PDF of the evictions? So when the city started, prior to this past August, when there'd probably be maybe one eviction every other week. What is on the screen right now, these are all the evictions happening from last week and this week in the city of Oakland. Again, $1,800 per hour. These folks have nowhere to go. All their belongings are getting thrown out. Their RVs, their campers, their minivans, their box trucks are being towed. Sometimes they're getting crushed right in front of them with all their property in there. The city won't allow people to come and get their belongings anymore. They used to. They don't do that anymore. People are literally it's like attempted murder. If you've got this power and the resources to actually help people, but you use that power and resources to literally knock people down when they're living on their knees. You want to knock them down so they're laying flat on the ground, which is essentially what the city's doing, and you leave them with no food because you throw away their food, you throw away their clothing, you throw away their bedding, you throw away whatever dwelling or shelter they've created for themselves, you throw away their medication. I've seen that happen. I've seen them throw away people's wheelchairs that they need to get around. One time they threw a man's prosthetic leg out. They threw his leg out, and he had just gotten it nine days before they threw it out. They throw away IDs, they throw away EBT cards, they throw away birth certificates. That's all money that you need to get that stuff, you know? And so to me, it's attempted murder, honestly. And I actually was able to stop one of the evictions for a community actually near Laney College over on Fallon and 7th, I believe it was. And a majority of the folks there were severely physically disabled and just super paranoid, dealing with all kinds of PTSD and crisis. And the city, so if you've got paranoia, PTSD, anxiety, one of the most common symptoms of those conditions is you don't trust people, you don't trust strangers, you go into survival mode when you're forced to deal with strangers. You go into survival mode, so you can't even think about packing your stuff. You can't even think about the next step of like where you're going next. You're just stuck. You become so overwhelmed that you actually can't even get out of bed. And that was happening with the residents over at Fallon and 7th. So I told all of them to call the cops and tell the cops that there was an attempted murder happening. And the cops actually came, and they had to file a report. They had to take a report that there was an attempted murder happening, because literally what the city was trying to do was going to kill those folks. They weren't going to survive a night. I mean, these were people in their like 60s and 70s. One of the guys, he had been unhoused in the very spot that they were trying to remove him from for 25 years. And that eviction was the first time the city or any of the nonprofits came to even interact with him. And they wanted to take all his stuff and leave him on the side of the road. There was no shelter for them. The city tried to say, well, you can go to St. Vincent de Paul. People with anxiety, like I said, anxiety, depression, PTSD, you can't go into those congregated shelters where you're packed in like a room with like hundreds of people. That doesn't work. And so we were able to stop that eviction and then call upon there's a department in City Hall that I didn't know existed, found out it existed. It's called the American with Disabilities Act Department. And I was able to call them and let them know what the city was doing. And that bought some more time and was able to get people into, the city still didn't house folks, but we were able to relocate people to a different location. That community was broken up, and so people went different ways. And, you know, like I said, these are all elderly, disabled people who had each other, and now they're scattered throughout parts of downtown alone and isolated and still surviving. But we were able to make sure a majority of their property didn't get thrown away. Their box trucks and the RVs they lived in did not get towed. But, I mean, it's unnecessary. It is so unnecessary and such a huge waste of energy for the unhoused folks, not to mention being traumatic. But then for us advocates out there, it's a waste of energy for us. Like, we could be doing so many other things to help people, like, get on with their lives and get a step up, and instead we're just trying to advocate for them to not get knocked down, and it's crazy to me. But you know, I want folks to understand what actually is the impact, not just hearing from me. And so we've got this brother Niles. He's 37 years old from Oakland, and he's gonna, if we can start at the 13.51 mark of the video. It's a long video, but at 13.51 he talks about what happens when the city does exactly what we're talking about, evicts him and takes all his property. At 13:51. No problem. Again, if you want to call in, we're at 510-563-7819. Let us know what you think. Have you witnessed these evictions? Do you have an opinion about these evictions? Do you agree with the evictions? Do you think that you got better ideas that the city should be doing other than what they're currently doing? Give us a call. And this brother kind of, he shares just how devastating and, you know, what a setback it is for him to have to deal with not just one, but multiple. So a lot of folks, like these evictions, it's not just one time. When I was unhoused, the city evicted us several times and, you know, destroyed everything we had. Luckily, I lived in a camper and later in an RV, and my camper and later my RV both moved, so I was able to move it. But not everyone in my community had was as lucky, and and people did lose a lot of things. I know in one of my communities that we lived in, our communities were really safe. We really took care of each other. That's why people, come together, is because, we look out for each other. And one of the sisters who was living in our community, I was able to get one of my folks to get her a little trailer because she was just living in a tent. And we got her a trailer. She was able to kind of stabilize and try to work on trying to kick her drug habit. And the city took that trailer from her. We were trying to get it towed, and they blocked us from towing it. And they crushed it in front of us. And she ended up going over to sleep at that bridge that on Fruitvale that connects Oakland to Alameda. And that first night under that bridge, she got raped. So it's foul. It's foul. All that stuff is unnecessary. It could have been avoided. But the city is not. Don't believe the hype. They're not being compassionate. They're not being dignified. And let's check out what Brother Niles got to say.
Question is, what's the next step for you?
Oh, right.
But besides that, before I get to that, do you have a job? And if not, why? And just explain that for me.
Okay. Well, like I said, trying to work and the anxiety of, is your place still going to be there? Not just from other people breaking in or stealing your things, but the city coming and do random cleanups. Like they've done that where I've came back and like everything's gone. I've lost everything like maybe 4 to 5 times since I've been out here, just from a pop-up cleanup, like without warning. Do I want a job? Yes. Am I able to work? Yes. Will I work? Will I go and get another job? Yes. As soon as I'm placed in my apartment or whatever place that they put me in, gladly. That takes the anxiety, the burden of the relief of knowing that my stuff is safe. I can then concentrate on that, you know what I mean, on getting a job, which is going to be no problem, because I've never had a problem getting a job. It's just, am I going to have a home to come to when I get off work that day? You know what I mean? That's just the biggest problem.
And that's true. There's a lot of people out there that don't understand that situation. Right? They would always say, why won't they just get a job? But it's like, do you have a home to come home to after the hard day of labor?
Correct.
Okay.
Like, for example, I just lost my van, which was parked right behind us. The city just towed it. Like, that was my shelter, It wasn't running at the time because I got in an accident up the street here because there was no stop sign on all 4 of at the 4-way, there was not a stop sign. Anyway, the city just towed it because someone complained that my van was right there. Mind you, there's plenty of other cars that are unregistered, that are more broken down than mine. And like I said, I kept my area cleaned and all that, but there's one person on our block that lives down the block that bothers all of us, and we're not even near them or anything like that. Like, they are so far down, it's ridiculous. But they just keep picking, and it's like as if we're just causing so much just by being here and just trying to live as human beings. And so there's that's prime example right there. Like, I literally left, went to go get something to eat, came back, and it was gone with everything that I owned in it. Everything. And this was just in January.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
January 13th to be exact.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's already been pretty much a month and a couple of days, right?
Yeah. Everything. Right? Everything. And it's so hard to get one step ahead. And it's things like that kicks you 5 steps back. Like, to keep a phone, to keep paperwork that's important, to keep memories from your life. It's hard to keep anything because it can get taken from you in a heartbeat, and that's the biggest anxiety of living out here. Like,
If it's not one thing,
That's the
it's
hardest.
another.
Exactly. But that's the biggest, is keeping what you own. And yeah, and it's hard to re-accumulate basic needs. Soap, you know, clothing, blankets, a shelter, period. Yeah.
To people that do have housing, just imagine, you know, you coming home from a hard day work and your house is on fire.
Yeah.
Just like the thing that just happened in LA, right? The fire in LA, right? A lot of people had $1 million homes. Some people were out working and they had to literally see that their house is on fire.
Or already burnt to a crisp.
And they're already burnt to a crisp where they can't even get it back.
Exactly. Now it's flooded out there.
Wow. Are you serious?
Right after the fires, now it's flooded. Wow. And that has been, mudslides have ruined homes. And yeah, it's all bad down there.
Crazy.
Yeah, things like that, exactly. But that's natural disaster, you know what I mean?
So natural versus people taking your things.
Yeah, but natural disaster you could kind of predict, or you get somewhat of a warning, you know what I mean? You're able to somehow, like, you know, if there was an earthquake, maybe your house has fallen, you know what I mean? If there was a fire, you'll get a phone call and you know what you're walking into. Out here, there's
no telling.
No telling. You can go to, like I said, go to the store, come back, boom, gone. No explanations, no where your stuff is, nothing. Just poof, gone. And you're just sitting there like, what happened? And if no one was around to see anything, you know nothing. And another thing, oh my gosh, let me say this, please. A lot of times when the city comes to clean up, they will not let us go and get important items like our backpacks, which have our whole life in it, like our wallet, our phones, things like that, keys, whatever, a lot of times. But then before they leave, if we happen to look in their trucks, inside their trucks, not in the back part where they're dumping stuff, but inside their trucks, there's so much of our items in there that they get to take, but we can't go and get, you know what I'm saying?
That's theft.
And that's really messed up.
That's crazy.
A lot of times that happens. I mean, so much stuff. Like even things like clothes. Like to me, that's stealing from the homeless. Like you guys have jobs.
True.
You guys have homes, and you come out here, and a lot of times they plan. You can hear them and see them. They're like, "Oh yeah, when we start cleaning up, we're gonna get that. I want that right there. I want this right there. I want that right there."
Wow.
And they take these things home with them.
So
but then when we say, "Oh, please, sir, can I just at least grab my tent so I have a shelter to go to the next place?" Or can I please, a lady will ask, "Can I please grab my purse? It's just right there." Nope.
Wow.
But they'll take that purse, they'll take that tent and put it inside of their truck and take it home.
So they're just taking advantage of the power that they have.
Exactly.
And everything that they see is pretty much finders keepers.
Right. And they laugh about it and they say, "Oh, come back if you want to, because we get paid so much for doing this cleanup. We're glad to come back out until you guys have nothing left anymore." This is the way that they talk to us too. Like, and I would ask them, like, "How do you sleep at night?" You know, I would hate for one day that you lose everything and you end up being homeless out here, because it's not cool. It's not fun at all. And talking to us like that, I can't believe that you can even sleep at night doing that. Like that, it's crazy.
Yeah, these people don't have no hearts, to be honest with you. I've seen it plenty of times too, you know, and seeing it within my own eyes it's crazy to me, because just to think of it, you know, probably they might even have families too.
Yeah.
Do they treat their family like this?
Exactly.
The way how they treat others outside of their family?
Exactly.
Which is like the way how you treat your family, you should treat the same as the people that you see outside.
Right.
You know.
And God forbid if they have anyone in their family that's homeless. You know what I mean?
True.
It's just crazy.
And there's plenty of people out there too that are homeless, that have family, and these family members don't even try to help out. They know where they're located.
Yeah.
And they don't even try to, you know, come by and see them.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Do you need help? You know what? I have another bedroom. You know what? Forget that. I only got one bedroom. But you could sleep on the couch, and let's go ahead and work these things out so you can get back on your feet.
Now, mind you, I've had 2 or 3 friends that have happened to see me out and about, which I've tried to stay away from my life because I didn't want them to see me like this. Like I don't think my mom even knows until probably now. I don't think my mom even knows that I'm out here like this. I've been lying to her every time I talk to her for so long because I just can't admit to her that this is where I am now and disappoint her like that. But I've had friends that have offered to give me their bedroom and they would sleep in another room. Like, just please come get out of here. Just please come stay with me and get back on. But after being put out abruptly like that from someone that you're so close to over something that someone else said, and that person who you're close to believed that was such a stab to the heart that I cannot find myself living under someone else's roof to where they can tell me that I have to get out ever again, period. And then also a lot of people out here, you know, yes, they do have families. Yes, their families might know that they're out here, but they can't get it. They've been looking for them and they can't find each other. You know what I mean? That's a big thing that I've also seen out here, you know, like a lot of people from other states or even some from other countries, and they're stuck and they don't know how to get in touch with anyone else or anything like that. So there's that problem.
Well, hopefully I do come across to some people such as, because, you know, with this platform, there should be a way that I can link them with family, right? And hopefully this platform does get as big as possible, because I want to help as many people as possible. And that's the reason why I kind of started this, because it's not just to just help out around a community. This is to help out around the world, because, you know, you have to start from somewhere. Yeah. You know, and the first step is to start. Right. And then from there, keep going and going until you get to a place where now you can help out the world. And yeah, so last thing before we go, what inspiring words can you tell to others that are also living out here in the streets and are trying to get back into society?
Well, main thing is to never forget, you know, a lot of times people forget that they've even stayed in a place before, and it's like, they've turned into animals, so to speak. You know what I mean? And it's not, so to try to hold on to those same habits and those same mannerisms, I'll say, that you've had when you were living in a home. And I often tell myself it could be worse, but it will only be as bad out here as you let it be or you make it. You know, and always look up and ahead, because like the streets can swallow who you are and strip you of all morals and anything that you thought you knew about yourself. You totally have to forget kind of your whole life that you've had before and become a whole different person in order just to manage out here. But within that, don't lose who you originally are. And like I said, do that by maintaining same habits. And like, people make fun of me because at my spot, I still say, don't throw that in my front yard. You know what I mean? It's a yard, like whatever, like, you know what I mean? Or my front door or at my house, you know, these are terms that I still use, just small things, but it keeps me, you know, like I said, those same habits of living in a place. Because I've seen some people just, it's like, damn, you can live like this? Like I said, there's some of us out here that kind of lost our way or whatever. And it's like, wow, like, have you ever lived in a home before? Like, how can you live like this? Which is some of the complaints that people have, but it's just some of us. Most of us, though, still, you know, remember what it is to live in a home. And those ones that have lost their way, so a lot of times they can't be brought back. A lot of times they are so far into this that they only enjoy this. Like, I've had friends that said that even if they were to offer housing, wouldn't take it because he can't be inside anywhere. Like, if he feels claustrophobic, and when he's tried to go home and be back in the house, it didn't work. And, you know, to each its own. So with that, like I said, just if you want to get back into a place, then you would try to maintain those habits so you don't get lost out here, I think. Yeah. And also, all work is work, period. You know, whatever you have to do to make some money, do it. Like, if it's from sweeping a gas station parking lot, whatever, from, you know, finding something that you're good at and selling those services, period, no matter what it is, do it, because That's going to be your only way other than crime. And that I don't suggest you do. My best advice is find something that you're good at and sell those services, no matter what it is.
Thank you so much, Niles.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for this interview. I really do appreciate it, and I enjoyed it. It was to a point where it didn't feel like an interview. It felt more like getting to know you more and the conversation, you know.
Gotcha.
And hopefully the viewers also feel the same way as well and understanding your story. And on to the next one, because this isn't just the first one. You know, this will be a journey that I actually want to see, because you said you got housing, so I can't wait for that to happen, because this is just another step.
I don't have housing yet.
Not yet.
Waiting
not yet,
to be matched with housing.
But soon.
Yeah,
soon,
exactly.
Soon we'll get to it. All right. Thank you, Niles. Thank
You're
you again.
All right. Again, that was Niles, and that is from a YouTube channel called Voices from the Block. It's a youngster here in Oakland who maybe 4 or 5 months ago started interviewing folks on the streets and collecting their stories, and he's doing a really good job, and I hope that the stories he's collecting really get out there and can change people's minds, and inspire people to do something better for our neighbors out here. And there was a couple of things he said that I wanted to touch on. I just want to reiterate, yes, it's the Department of Public Works. So the Department of Public Works is, they're in every city across the country. Here in Oakland, they are charged with graffiti abatement, cleaning up illegal dumping, and picking up trash. And about 8 years ago, they got an additional job, which was to clean up and evict homeless encampments. And like I said, these guys are now making $1,000, when you combine the cops and Department of Public Works and the Department of Transportation and the towing companies and the administrators who are overseeing all this, it is costing $1,800 to do what we're talking about them doing. And I have witnessed it myself over and over. Like the Department of Public Works team that deals with the encampments, they get juiced when they have to go evict folks or do trash cleanup, for the very reason what he said is that it's Christmas for them. I've seen them. There's one time I saw them. There was a lady who she used to live over on Bond, just off of Bancroft and High. There's a little street called Bond, and there was an encampment of about 20 people there. And this one lady, she had bikes, nice bikes, and that's how she got around. And then her dude used to fix up the bikes, and that's how they made their money. And they came and they started picking out her bikes, being like, "Oh no, I want this one. You want this one? I want this one." And I was just like, "Y'all are just foul. You're throwing all her stuff away." They wouldn't even let her take one of her bikes with her. They wouldn't even let her take a bike for herself. And they're sitting there splitting it like pirate booty. You know, like, you take this bike and I'm going to take, oh no, I want that one. And I've seen it happen over and over and over again. The towing companies, they do the same thing. They get real juiced. Auto Plus Tow has a contract with the city. There's a new tow company that just showed up with a contract with the city, and their name is Town Business Tow. And they've got a contract to tow all the vehicles people live in. And they do the same thing. So they're supposed to give people, put up stickers to let people know they're going to tow their vehicles, and it gives people 3 days to move their vehicles. And then if they do end up towing the vehicles, they are supposed to give information about where the vehicle is being towed, how they can get their vehicle back, et cetera, et cetera. And I'd say for the past 2 years, hands down, they are not putting up those stickers on the vehicles. And they're just taking the vehicles and not telling people where to get them from. And I had one of my vehicles taken. It was a box truck. It was taken in like 2021. And we used that as an emergency housing place for folks. So I had a box truck. It was a free store. So there was all kinds of stuff in that store. Whoever needed it, I would be a limit. Like, you can take 5 things per day. That is it. If you need something else, come back tomorrow. And in the evenings, we would close up the shop, and people who needed a place to stay because they didn't have a place to stay, we had extra cots, and we put up the cots and some blankets, and people could crash there. Like, if the city towed someone's vehicle, or if the city took someone's a tent, they would come over to where we were staying at, and they knew that there was like an emergency shelter right there in a box truck over on Athens. That's where we had it at. And one day the city took it, with no notice, no nothing. The vehicle was registered. I had the vehicle registered. I had it insured. It moved. It had, like I said, it had a whole free store in it, and it was an emergency shelter for our folks. And they took it, and they didn't realize that it was mine. And the city knows who I am. I've sued the city and won on behalf of one of my encampments I lived in. And after they had destroyed that encampment that I sued them over, they didn't know where we were. For 5 years, they didn't know where we were, but they knew I was still out there causing problems for them. And when they took that box truck, and I made a stink about it, they were like, "Oh, that's where you are?" So they returned our box truck because they had to, because I had all the paperwork. Like, you guys should not have towed it. It's like registered. What the hell? And they returned it in less than 24 hours. They had to waive all the fees, but they returned it to us with the engine chopped up and sitting in the cab. And, you know, California law, when you get a vehicle towed by any entity for whatever reason, they cannot do nothing to you. Have 30 days where that vehicle is still yours. After that 30-day period, it is now the property of the tow company. So what I learned from that experience is that they're chopping up vehicles less than 24 hours after taking them. And so what happened with that, though, is that after that moment, every single day they were coming to our encampment because they realized where me and my folks were all kind of had popped up after they destroyed our other encampment. And every single day they were trying to tow all the vehicles and harass people. And, you know, a lot of us lost work because of that, because when they would come, we'd have to stay locked up in our vehicles. And I used to sit there and pretend I was asleep and with my headphones on and just sit in my driver's seat of my RV. And they'd be screaming at me. They'd have like 20 cops out there and rocking just threatening me for like 3 to 4 hours. And the first time it happened, the rest of my encampment was scared. And they all left their vehicles, and their vehicles got towed. And then when they saw that, dang, they really couldn't take your vehicle, I'm like, they can't. I'm in it. I'm just pretending to be asleep, but they see me. And then after that, that became the tactic where people just, and it started spreading. We started spreading that across Oakland, like if they're coming for your vehicle, don't get out of it. And as of Shane Tao's announcement this past August, the city doesn't even, and that's a state law, the city does not follow that law anymore. They will yank you out of your vehicle. And the messed up thing is that there's not enough attorneys, or folks don't believe or have the ability or the capacity to file their own lawsuits. I filed my own lawsuit against the city because there were no attorneys. And then but if you go to Emeryville, I've got folks who be living in Emeryville, and the Emeryville police won't touch them because the Emeryville police will let them know it is against the law for us to remove your vehicle because you're sitting in it. If you weren't in your vehicle, we take it in a second, but we can't touch you because California law. So OPD is totally in violation of California law. If there were more attorneys out there, this would not be happening, what we see happening. But attorneys don't want to touch this. And we don't have enough of the attorneys who were and you remember we had one of the attorneys here who was taking on those cases. She just decided she's not going to do it no more. So she was taking cases all over California. She was the person who I had attached to 3 encampments here in Oakland to be their attorney if the city attempted to evict them. And she, I think 3 weeks ago, texted me on a text that she wasn't going to be able to do it no more. And that was really difficult to share that information with those encampments because they had hope that they had that sliver to fight stuff. I think one thing I've also realized with folks who take on these jobs with the public works, homeless encampment team, or some of these homeless interventions, like people who run the shelters and whatnot, is they all have a tendency to be bullies. Like all of them. It's like a certain kind of person is attracted to be running these programs and have total power over people and the ability to abuse that power. And I just think the city and these nonprofits need to have better criteria about who they are hiring and what kind of qualifications people should have. Right now, the only qualification it seems that they want people to have is that you've had lived experience. But that's so broad, and it's just because you have lived experience doesn't mean that you are healed from that? Do you have anger issues? Are you caught up in the life? Are you affiliated with any gangs? Because that's who's running these shelters and who's running the city's encampment cleanup teams. And so these folks are coming and getting these jobs because they've had lived experience. But that's like the only criteria, and I think the city needs to actually do a better job of when they pay these nonprofits to do this work, or when they hire people for Department of Public Works. I think they got to have better criteria and standards for who they're hiring, because they're dealing with a population that's super traumatized. And if you've had lived experience, then you yourself are going to get triggered when you're out there dealing with stuff, and you might fall back into your old ways. And what he was talking about too, Niles, about how when people are out here for too long, some folks can't be brought back, either from the trauma that they're dealing out on the streets, or the trauma that they're feeling from the city. And then, or for me, when I got housed, I had a hard time adjusting back, because there's a certain kind of freedom that comes with being unhoused that you don't have when you are housed. And so I had, it took me a while to adjust being back indoors. And there was a part of me that, even though it was not safe out there was this element of freedom that I had while I was unhoused, not being attached to something, not having to pay rent for something, and just being able to get up and go whenever I felt like it. And I know a lot of people, they can't transition back into that. And a lot of folks who do end up getting into permanent housing walk away from it because they miss that freedom. Or like he said, people feel claustrophobic. If you've been out there for hella long, and you just become used to being outside. And when you get behind four walls and a locked door, and you're isolated, it's very, people get a lot of depression. I've seen a lot of folks, especially when they permanently house people out of the shelters here in Oakland. Most of the folks who are getting housed are not getting permanently housed in Oakland. They're getting moved to Fremont, to Hayward, to Castro Valley, mostly seniors who are from here. And so when they're getting moved to these other cities, they're totally isolated. I've known so many people who just left, senior citizens, who were so lonely because they got moved out to Hayward or Fremont or Castro Valley, that they left that permanent housing, even though they were 60, 70 plus years old, just to come back to Oakland so they didn't feel so alone. That's crazy to me. You know, there's a lot, you just can't house somebody and assume that they're going to be all right. Like, people have been through too much. And I think one of the things, going back to what the people who get these jobs have, is a total lack of kindness. There's no compassion, there's no kindness, there's no care. And like, really, when you're dealing with folks who've been through this kind of stuff, like, you really need to have a sense of compassion and kindness when dealing with people. And that's totally lacking in a lot of these service providers. They just mean-ass bullies. And then I think another reason why folks can't be brought back is that they get addicted to the lifestyle out there. Like, there's always something going on. And I think after a while, you just get used to like all that. That was one thing that I had to deal with too. You know, my daughter would be like, "Why are you always outside? We've got a place now." And I had to really sit and think about it. And it's because I was bored at home. But I remember before I wasn't housed, I wasn't bored at home. I loved coming home and just winding down. But while we were unhoused, I didn't like coming to back to the RV because I felt trapped in the RV. And because it was cold, and because I didn't want everyone to be, because like the walls in the RV, imagine if you were in a tent, are paper thin, everyone can hear you, you know what I'm saying? And so I would go home to the RV when it was late at night, when I was really ready to go to bed. And I just enjoyed being out, because where else am I going to go? And so when we got housed, that was one of the things that I had to overcome, was my need to like constantly be outside. And it took my daughter like questioning me to like really look at myself. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, go home. Why are you out here? There was something that they were talking about in the first news clip. It was called a coordinated entry system. And just for folks to know, there's so Alameda County has the idea is that every person who's unhoused goes through one of these nonprofits in this whole like complex of homeless organizations and services, and they get entered into a county-wide system. And the idea is that they're supposed to, like, all these organizations and service providers and county agencies and city agencies and departments are supposed to be working together to make sure that people get navigation for housing, health services, mental health services, job training, job placement, whatever it is, you know? And that's not happening. In fact, what's happening a lot is it's not happening, and people are dropping the ball. And so what you have is people living in some of these shelters for 2 or 3 years because no one turned in their paperwork. Or you have people for the shelters that you can only be there for, like, 3 to 6 months. They're in there for 3 to 6 months and exited right back out on the street with no property, because you can't bring your property into the shelters. And turns out no one turned in their paperwork. And that is a really common situation. So that when that brother was saying that he's been matched for housing, but he's still waiting. With what happened at the folks at Lake Merritt in that clip we saw earlier, I know some of the people there who've been living there for a couple of years across from Laney College, who not only were placed or matched for housing, they've already signed leases, and they were never given a key. And these are elderly people. And then they just got evicted. They just got evicted, and there's no accountability. There's no one's being responsible for why is this happening. I know I'm working with one of the couples over at the 66th Avenue Safe Park, and the wife, she was able, because she's not well, she's not doing so well. She got placed. They got their vehicles towed. One of their vehicles got towed, and their property got thrown away in September. And then one of these organizations, Operation Dignity, got them into the RV site. And then it turns out down the line that Operation Dignity dropped the ball and never turned in their paperwork. And so on site, they have these things. In that particular program, they call them care coordinators. And these are the folks who are supposed to help them navigate through this coordinated entry system. And so they got moved in there in August. In September, because of her medical conditions, she immediately got matched with housing. So her care coordinator said, boom, you got matched with housing. She filled out the paperwork right there, turned it right back, didn't even leave the desk, turned it right back into her care coordinator, and then kept on touching base, kept on asking, what's up with the housing? And they're like, we're still waiting. Oh, you should be in housing by October. October came and went. What's up with housing? What's up with housing? Oh, you know what? You have to talk to Roots. Oh, you got to talk to Backs. And so the care coordinator is sending her to these different organizations, and the different organizations are like, actually, you need to go back to Urban Alchemy, because they're the ones who are responsible for making sure you get into this housing that you've been matched with. And that went on for months. Like, we're now in April. This continued until like this past March. And then one of the medical practitioners at Roots, actually got into the system. It's not his job, but he got into the system and looked and said, your paperwork never got turned in. So then that became a hoopla. I wrote a bunch of letters and made a big stink about it. And that's another thing, is that folks in these interventions will not take responsibility. So it's like there's that person who was supposed to do their job, and you call them and you ask for their supervisor, and then their supervisor don't do nothing, so you ask for their supervisor. I had to keep on calling until I got to the founder of this organization, and he called me in half an hour, and he changed everything up. And turned out within an hour of me talking to the founder, she got placed in housing again, or she got matched with housing again. But now they're punishing her on the site, her and her husband, because they got an advocate involved, because they stood up for themselves. So now they're being like really tormented. And I've been talking to the founder again to let him know, like, listen, like, this is really bad. Like, it was wonderful that you was able to kind of figure out and it was also the conditions of that place were just foul. Like, it's just foul. Oh my God, like filthy. Like, what are you guys doing here? And like they promised to provide all these services. It's even on their website, pictures of all the services they provide. Nothing is happening. None of that is happening. And so he was able to like get the ball rolling to get some of that fixed. Turned out it all sounded good at the beginning, but when it got back down to the people on the ground actually following through what the founder was telling them to do, they didn't do it. So it's just a bad situation all the way. So, and that's the problem too, is when people get into these shelters are just super mismanaged in every way possible, and it's just a damn shame. But not every shelter is like that. We've got some gems out there, and I want to see if we can watch that Reverend Chambers video. There is a Reverend Chambers in West Oakland. He's also the founder and the director of the Alameda County Interfaith Council. Basically, it's all different Christians, Catholics, Jews, Muslims, all coming together to work on issues that are impacting folks and coming from a spiritual, point of view, and putting aside that they have different religious beliefs, but knowing that they all need to be doing something better for the community. And we're gonna watch this video about what he's been able to do in West Oakland, but then I'm gonna talk a little bit about what his original vision was. What he was originally trying to do was so much more bigger and so much more impactful, but we'll get into that. Yep.
And in Oakland, city leaders are scrambling to come up with new housing options for the hundreds of people being evicted from the sprawling Wood Street encampment. Tonight, an 80-year-old church in Oakland is committed to helping house the homeless, not just because of the gospel, but because it's the pastor's personal mission. KPIX5's Katie Nielsen has the story.
And this is a place for people to come get a shower, get laundry services done.
Every Wednesday, a large shower and laundry trailer sets up in the parking lot of Westside Missionary Baptist Church, all thanks to the work of Pastor Ken Chambers.
And as a pastor, it's my mission to be my brothers and sisters' keeper.
Chambers knows the struggles of homelessness all too well. He and his family lost their house during the economic downturn in 2008.
My 3 daughters was in UC Berkeley College, and we all stayed in their dorms.
When Chambers got back on his feet, he made it a personal mission to help others struggling with homelessness. First with a safe parking program in the church parking lot, then the church added tiny homes. Just enough space for 31-year-old Terrence Williams to thrive.
If it wasn't for this program, it's no telling where I would be, but I definitely wouldn't be well off like I am now, at least have a chance to do something with my life,
Williams was only 9 years old when his mother died of breast cancer. He was placed in foster care and eventually found himself living on the streets. Then he started sleeping in the safe parking lot of Westside Missionary.
I used to cry every night that I was in my car, just hoping that I'd get a roof over my head. I didn't expect anything, but the reality when I got here was better than I even expected.
Williams was one of the first tiny home residents 4 years ago. Since moving in, he's gotten his GED, then graduated with an associate's degree from Laney College. Now he's about to move to Dallas.
My short-term goals is to get my bachelor's, and then I want to go to law school. I want to be a juvenile lawyer, and my long-term goal is to be a congressman or a senator.
He says there's no one better to help solve the homeless crisis than those who've experienced it, just like Pastor Chambers. In Oakland, Katie Nielsen, KPIX5.
So big up to Pastor Reverend Chambers and what the work he's doing there. And like I said, he is the director of the Alameda County Interfaith Council. And in 2017, he had this vision and had all the council, the entire Interfaith Council of Alameda. I mean, this is talking about all of Alameda, the churches, the synagogues, the mosques, everybody, down with this idea that they were going to build tiny houses on their parking lots or on, because, churches and whatnot, they own a lot of property. And so folks who had surplus property, all of them, every single one of them was going to build anywhere from 1 to 10 tiny houses on their property. And they were going to use Oakland as the pilot because that's where the most of the unhoused in Alameda County was. And he had the plan. He was working with us. We shared our blueprints with him because, we built tiny houses. And Libby Schaff, good old Mayor Libby Schaff, shut him down, completely killed the entire project. He had found funding streams. You know, you got the religious community got their own funding streams, but he was tapping into different foundations. She shut the whole thing down. Again, I'm trying to tell you, they ain't trying to house the unhoused. They want us out of here, period. Housed or unhoused. They just don't want us here no more. And what she whittled down his program to be was on his lot. And his church is a very tiny church, and it's a very small parking lot. And she's all like, you can have a safe park program there. And so that's what she whittled it down to, was a safe park program. And there's over time, she left office and he was able to expand the program. And I really do hope that he hasn't lost the fire to get the rest of the Interfaith Council to stick with what their original vision was, which was to just all of them get down and provide temporary and some of the tiny houses they were talking about is building permanent tiny houses on these sites. So, like I said, how people approach homelessness is totally a choice. You can choose to be absolutely ruthless and inhumane and treat people like they trash, or you can actually remember that these are human beings out here who just need a little bit of support to improve their situation that they find themselves in. So with that being said, let's tune out and tune into Vybz Kartel and their song Poor People Land. And call in y'all 510-563-7819.
I can't believe it. Government want to move me. I turn refugee in my own country. But a long time, me live here so can't go no way. Them really take poor people for fool. Them really take poor people for fool. Oh, in this Babylon, where you get the system you're from? Bulldozer down poor people land. John no say me nah vote again, no sir. Cause the MP don't give a damn. Where you get the system you're from? Bout say me live on Scotland. Joe me don't rich like Matalan, no sir. Me a born Jamaican. Me nah have nowhere to go. Me born and me grow, yeah, so inna the ghetto. Bigger heads, beg you a blind now. Me can't buy a house up a Cherry Garden. Ashes to ashes, and dust to dust. The tribulation in the ghetto is a must. Never qualified in a housing trust. Cause me lose all of my money in a cash box. But me know say me a born Jamaican. Me dey from slavery as a African. Somebody tell me where Matalan come from. We own so much land in our island. Tell me this a chin, go back to Japan. Cause Jamaica feed the black man. From Moran Pine to Negril Pine, from St. Thomas to Westmoreland. Oh, Miss Babylon, where you get the system you're from? Bulldozer down poor people land. John no say me nah vote again, no sir. Cause the MP don't give a damn. Where you get the system you're from? Bout say me live on Scotland. Joe me don't rich like Matalan, no sir. Me a born Jamaican. Yes, some pick me bad. So them no know nowhere else. Government care about them then no. Come and know you no care for the parents. Me beg you lease me the piece of land, yeah. Me nah have no problem for parent. Run, come, give me your eviction notice. For poor people, you not have no patience. Me know say me a born Jamaican. Me dey from slavery as a African. Somebody tell me where Matalan come from. We own so much land in our island. Tell me this a chin, go back to Japan. Cause Jamaica feed the black man. From Moran Pine to Negril Pine, from St. Thomas to Westmoreland. Oh, Miss Babylon, where you get the system you're from? Bulldozer down poor people land. John no say me nah vote again, no sir. Cause the MP don't give a damn. Where you get the system you're from? Bout say me live on Scotland. Joe me don't rich like Matalan, no sir. Me a born Jamaican. I can't believe it. Government want to move me. Me turn refugee in my own country. But a long time, poor people for fool. Them really take poor people for fool. Oh, yes, I'm Babylon. Where you get the system you're from? Bulldoze and down poor people land. John no seminar vote again, no sir. Cause the MP don't give a damn. Where you get the system you're from? Both say me live on Scotland. Joe, me don't rich like Matalan, no sir. Me a bad Jamaican.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if we're here in Oakland or if we're in the Philippines or if we're in Mexico or in Kenya or Hawaii. They just want our land. They don't want us. They want our land, and they want to live the best life and enjoy the hula and enjoy the adobo and lumpia and enjoy drumming, but they just don't want us. They want to take what they got. It doesn't matter where we are. This is a condition of humanity right now, and it's got to stop. We got to do something better, and it's a damn shame. But like I said earlier, you know how we approach homelessness is a choice, and I want us to check out what they're doing in Chicago. They are choosing a whole a different way to approach homelessness, and after we watch this, I'm going to talk about what's happening here, because in Alameda County in 2020, so in Chicago, what they're talking about doing is doing a kind of tax, and that tax would be used to build deeply affordable housing for unhoused folks. And in Alameda, we were talking about the same thing, and in 2020, Alameda County voters actually passed a measure called Measure W, and it was going to be a sales tax to raise funds specifically and only to provide essential county services, including housing to unhoused folks, mental health services to unhoused folks, job training to unhoused folks, and create other social safety nets. And that basically that tax would bring in $150 million a year to make this happen. And we'll talk about what's going on with that got voted in 2024. It's very relevant, but and connected to what's happening with Chicago. So let's go ahead and check out that video about how Chicago is taking a radical approach, what's being deemed a radical approach to end homelessness in their city.
If you could snap your fingers and, you know, had a magic genie, a magic lamp, what type of scenario would you find yourself in? What would you be doing?
I'd be home cooking breakfast right now.
The cost of housing is out of control. Across the country, there's an extremely alarming result. More Americans are now homeless than ever on record. But one city has proposed what could be a groundbreaking solution to the homelessness crisis. It's called Bring Chicago Home.
Get ready to see a new ballot question next spring involving taxes and homelessness.
The idea is to take the cash made on the sale of pricey Chicago homes and use that money to put roofs over the heads of the homeless.
Big corporate landlords are not happy about it. They're trying to stop it however they can.
They recognize the national implications of us winning.
We came to find out. What exactly are big landlords so afraid of? And despite their efforts, could Chicago change how we address homelessness in this country?
Honestly, now when I think back on it, I was just kind of felt like I was in this purgatory. I felt like I was constantly just living, experiencing something outside of myself.
Lorna Bennett grew up on Chicago's South Side. When she was only 17, her mother, struggling with addiction and mental illness, forced her to leave home. That's when she started doubling up, crashing with friends or family just for a place to sleep.
I wasn't in a shelter and I wasn't on the streets, and that's what was considered homeless. It was just a really confusing time for me. There was no way to identify what I was going through. There was no name for it.
After 5 years of doubling up, Lorna finally caught a break and got into a program that helps her pay the rent. That made it possible for her to move into this apartment, where she lives with her sons.
I didn't unpack a lot of my boxes for years. It took me years to finally start hanging pictures on my wall of my family. I work my butt off constantly. Everybody knows that, and I'm closer to homelessness than I am to ever owning a home right now.
Right.
In Chicago, almost 70,000 people are experiencing homelessness. 3/4 of them are living like Lorna was, doubled up with whoever will take them. They aren't considered homeless by federal standards, so they don't have access to reliable funding for housing assistance. Bring Chicago Home would change that.
The cause of homelessness at its core is the lack of access to affordable housing, period. So it's not so much that we don't know the solution. We do know the solution is more permanent affordable housing. It's how do we get to that point to have that in place.
Doug Schenkelberg is one of the people who 6 years ago began developing the idea for Bring Chicago Home.
We came in with the idea that we need to find a revenue stream that can achieve this goal. And so we did a lot of research about what would make the most sense. And that's when we landed on the real estate transfer tax.
That's that one-time tax that's paid when real estate is transferred from one owner to another.
Right now, property buyers pay a one-time flat tax of 0.75% of sales.
Chicago's real estate transfer tax is a fee charged when a property is sold. Right now, it's a flat tax at 0.75%. Bring Chicago Home would raise that tax to 2% for properties sold for over $1 million, and it would increase it to 3% for those over $1.5 million. The plan would also lower the tax for properties sold for less than $1 million. In Chicago, that's the vast majority of sales. 93% of buyers would get a tax cut. Advocates for the plan estimate it will raise at least $100 million a year for what they call permanent affordable housing.
One of the main problems we have in our housing system right now is that we treat it as a commodity. We see, venture capitalists coming in and utilizing the housing market as an investment tool. And so the housing market, the real estate market, functions as an income generator for those folks who already have income. We need government intervention to address what, can be called a market failure, right? That our markets aren't designed to serve people experiencing homelessness. If you're talking about a real estate market that is driven by profit, why not tax those high-level profits to serve those people who are cut out of the system because of how we commodify real estate?
One thing about Chicago, for many years, it's been a tale of two cities. This is a big, rich town.
Cesare Moore is an advocate for the homeless who does outreach to people who are living on the street.
We go out to the various tent cities and find homeless people wherever they are, wherever the need is. We give them tents, we give them clothes, we give them hygiene bags. If we can, we give them food. There are people in some of these tent cities living homeless who are working 2 jobs.
Like many of the people organizing for Bring Chicago Home, Cesare himself is homeless. Right now, he's living at a transitional housing facility that provides meals, mental health care, and job counseling. Those are the types of services that Bring Chicago Home proposes to scale up dramatically across the city. But according to the real estate industry, Chicago cannot afford it.
Don't throw an obstacle at small investors and mid-sized investors who are the key to providing affordable housing in the city.
Our concern with it is that it's going to affect economic activity for an industry that is at a existential challenge.
We all know the commercial market in Chicago has suffered a lot in the last year.
The business class in Chicago are really scared about what's been the status quo for a long time being upset, which is them having control, them being able to set the agenda for the city. There's a number of real estate interests, folks who make incredible profits off of real estate transactions, who have lined up in opposition to Bring Chicago Home. The face of the opposition are associations that represent realtors.
How do you foresee an increase affecting downtown high-rises, for example?
It won't be positive.
Bring Chicago Home has the support of the city's new mayor, Brandon Johnson, and a majority of the city council. But unlike most legislation, they can't simply pass it into law. That's because of the power of the real estate lobby. Back in the 1990s, it successfully pushed for a state law that requires a popular vote to change the real estate transfer tax. By erecting that barrier, the biggest real estate players have protected themselves from a progressive tax structure for nearly 30 years.
I do not see a strong affinity between people like ourselves and people who really are representing big corporate residential interest.
Aisha Ray and her husband Paul own an apartment building on Chicago's South Side, where they rent 5 units.
So this building still has, in these rooms, all of its original wood.
They have owned and lived in this building for nearly 40 years, and they personify a split between how small and large landlords are responding to the referendum.
I think other people like my husband and I, who have a 6-flat building, that this legislation will help us and not hurt us. To my understanding, the actual percentage of tax that we will pay will drop. Well, hallelujah. I mean, who could be against this? This sounds like a grand idea. Plus, we're addressing this critical social problem at the same time. I think the critical problem is to look at what is the cost of 68,000 people in the streets in Chicago.
The real estate industry has spent nearly $2 million so far to defeat Bring Chicago Home. On March 19th, the people of Chicago have the chance to decide for themselves.
I think this is the civil rights issue of our time. Housing is a human right. What can you do if you can't have any type of housing security?
I think that more than anything, realtors are afraid of what a group of people like me can accomplish when we are working together.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see more videos like this one. And if you have ideas for stories you want us to cover next.
All right, we are back. And like I was saying, here in Alameda in 2020, the voters passed Measure W. And it was the same concept of using a sales tax to raise funds. And like I said, it would be bringing in about $150 million a year. And it would have annual audits attached to it and citizen oversight. Realty companies, real estate investors totally sue the shit out of Alameda County to try to delay the process. Because, you know, if we create more affordable housing, that makes the region's housing stock price drop. And they do not want these prices to drop. They want to keep them going higher and higher. And basically what's happening right now, so it was able to win through the lawsuit processes. And as of the beginning of April, the board has said that, mind you, this is a measure that the voters passed. Like they had said in Chicago, they couldn't pass any kind of laws because the real estate lobbyists were so powerful. Same thing happened here, so it had to go to a vote, and the people voted for it. And now the Alameda County Board of Supervisors is saying, well, maybe we don't want to use Measure W entirely for homelessness and housing. And they're wanting to do what Shane Tao was trying to do with that Coliseum purchase. Like, what's going on with that, by the way? That layaway plan for the Coliseum. She wanted to use that to fix the $1 billion hole that the city of Oakland's budget was in. And this is what the Board of Supervisors in Alameda are talking about doing, is that they want to use that Measure W fund to now fix the hole in Alameda County's budget. But that's illegal. Again, we do not have enough lawyers who are willing to take on these fights. But this would be a very easy litigation to slap against the Alameda Board of Supervisors, because it was an electoral vote. And there is a call to action being put out. Can we see that that one image? That the Board of Supervisors needs to hear from you that the Measure W funds must be used to house unhoused folks and to provide them with services so they can keep their housing. That's the mental health stuff. That's the job training and job placement stuff. And that people with lived experience must be part of that planning and operations and governments. That's that whole citizen oversight that was written in that law. It is part of the law. And that Alameda County should use Measure W strategically to transform how the entire county and all the cities in Alameda are actually approaching and addressing homelessness. Because what they're doing right now, from Fremont, California, being super Jim Crow about it, to Oakland moving in that direction and just trying to make homeless people disappear, like, oh, we solved homelessness, you can't see homeless people no more. No, it's not getting solved. People are just scattered. I don't know if people have noticed, when you go back out there, check it out. There, you'll see more and more people walking around with bags and pushing shopping carts. That is not something we've seen in Oakland in a very, very, very long time. And when that did happen in Oakland 30 years ago, it was like one or two people that you'd see maybe in downtown who are pushing around shopping carts. But over the past few months, if you pay attention, you're going to see more and more people living out of their bags. Oakland's homeless population is becoming nomadic, and that is not okay. It's not solving the problem. And so what you got on the screen right now, you got 11 seconds to see the screen. We're on a commercial break. But there's going to be some phone numbers, and please join all of us who are trying to speak up on this and call your board of supervisors. The phone numbers and their names are going to be on the screen in a second, and tell them that this ain't right. That the voters of Alameda had actually, could we get that image on the screen? Oh, it's not up on here. Oh, okay, cool. Call these numbers. David Hobart, Alyssa Marquez, Lena Tam, Nate Miley, Nikki Fortunato Bass, who recently just left Oakland City Council president, and she's now moved to the Board of Supervisors. She's an easy person to sway. She's actually taking a stand to not use these funds, except for any way that it has been intentioned. She's pushing for it to actually be used to house unhoused people. But please call these numbers and tell them that they are tripping. That what they're doing, what they're considering is against the law. This was voted on an election, on a ballot. And they need to do right by that money and end homelessness. They can literally end homelessness. And we've got another video I'm going to save for next week because we don't have a lot of time. Next week we're going to look at how they ended homelessness in Finland, and that they're planning to actually completely eradicate homelessness by 2027. So we're going to check that out next week. But I did want to invite folks to the 17th annual Gongsters Paradise 2024. The House of Gongs is an organization, shout out to Ron and Lydia Kiran. They have really done a lot of work with their organization, the House of Gongs, to preserve indigenous Filipino culture, the language, the fashion, the psychology, and the dance. And the Kuling Thang is our indigenous percussions, and they're brass gongs and drums, animal skin drums, and it comes with dance and storytelling. And if we can watch this video, it's coming May 3rd. The Lumpia Ladies actually got hired to be the exclusive caterers, and we're very honored. I went to go see the venue it's going to be at. You'll see it's going to be the same venue in this video, and I got super inspired about, oh my God, I'm going to do this and this and this, and we're going to serve our food on banana leaves, like really get indigenous with it, and have a really nice spread for everybody. But if we can check that out, the video, this is a recap of last year's Gongsters Paradise, and this is happening in Frisco in 2 weeks. But let's check out what happened last year. get your tickets now. You can look up Gangster's Paradise or House of Gangs to get your tickets. And it's the largest gathering or celebration of Kulintang arts here in North America. And you keep up the traditional stuff, but then it's also a fusion of like Phil-Ams. Phil-Ams mean the Filipino Americans who've taken the art form and fused it with being here, and how being an American and being influenced by American culture can fuse with Kulintang culture. And it's a beautiful event, and we're hella honored. The Lumpia ladies are honored to be part of it this year. And were you able to download the 510 Day MP4 of what is 510 Day? So I'm gonna leave y'all with just a reminder about what 510 Day is. Again, it is a party, it is a protest, and it is a movement. And this being the 10th year, please follow us on our IG at 510 Day, because we're going to be doing things throughout the year to really uplift the fact that we are still here, and to really utilize the fact that we got Barbara Lee in office. And we want to, like I said, we had about 6,000 people come out last year. We expect way more this year, and that is a force to be reckoned with. So we can bring these numbers and negotiate with City Hall about, you know what, you need to do something, because we're sick of getting pushed around and erased, and we're not going anywhere. Oh, I think that's the ending. That's all good. Oh wait, no, never mind. My bad. Forget it. It's all good. I was confusing myself.
Welcome to 510 Day. We out here. It's Leo Mercer. You feel me? We out here at Lake Merritt, you know, about to get loud, you know, about to march from one side of the lake to the next. Get loud for gentrification, you know what I mean? We out here.
What's up, what's up? Happy to be here. 2023, 510 Day. Been doing this since 2016, resisting gentrification and the criminalization of our bodies and our culture by celebrating our bodies and our culture and just taking up public space and being here. Just stay strong, stay resilient. We still here.
Hi, my name is Jeanette Merrick, and I am the program director of the Good Life Program for Healthy Aging. So we offer free exercise classes, free cooking classes, which is a plant-based cooking class, all online, mental health support, mindfulness. And then we also have an amazing support program for Black men called Barbershop Talk, which is our safe space for Black men that Craig runs.
Yes, and I am your friendly neighborhood barber, and I facilitate Barbershop Talk. And pretty much it's a place where Black men, men of color, we can come and we can be vulnerable. We can talk about things. We can empty those boxes of frustration and years of just stuff we have built up. So come on in, fellas. Let's talk about it. You know, whatever we need to do, let's get fixed. Let's heal.
Leon D. Nass Sykes. I'm a founding member of 510 Day. Started out as a way just to a middle finger to the establishment about not being able to be at the lake, not being able to drink at the lake, not being able to party at the lake, not being able to park at the lake. No matter how much you try to change Oakland, we still gonna be here. We still are the culture, and we still are the people. 5-10 days, one of my favorite times of the year, something I look forward to every year. Without 5-10 days, we're missing a little bit more of the preservation of Oakland's culture.
Greetings, I'm Ebony with the Black Organizing Project. So happy to be out here. This is Carrington, also with the Black Organizing Project. And we're out here in support of 510 Day, making sure that Oakland is the culture of Oakland, the roots of Oakland are not erased, not forgotten, and that people who are out here really serving the community in a real way are highlighted.
What's up, everybody? Can I get a yay? Yeah! I know that's right. Happy 510 Day, y'all.
To see everyone out here, all the organizations, all the people, all the messaging, this has become more than a party. It's always been a protest, but this legitimately has become a movement. So please, once again for 510 Day, make noise for yourselves, please. Because we can't make this happen without y'all.
Stay strong in these hard-ass times. Keep your weed lit. You know what I mean? Big love, big hungry, you know what I mean?
All right, y'all. So this 510 Day, as we do every 510 Day, come and wear your gear. Represent the town. There's going to be several stages, and it's going to be a beautiful day. And we look forward to seeing you out there. Thank you for tuning in again, and we will see you next week.
Hey, hey, hey.